What I'm going to show you right now is how to use Hetzner bare metal, sometimes also known as Robot, to set up a CI machine for Actuated. You could also use this for our other product Slicer if you want to test on bare metal. So let's go over to their website. When you go to ordering, you usually are presented with the best value machines, but they have a one-off setup fee. So whilst you can pay per hour for them, you couldn't really auto scale these or stick a bunch on and then remove them again, because you've got this almost half of the monthly cost to cough up for. The auction machines I find are just basically dead end deprecated hardware. You've got things like a 5-year-old i7. It's just not worth your time. But in some of these categories, you'll find a slightly older AMD or Intel server with no setup fee. That means we can order this, have it relatively quickly. I think the Finland region tends to be the cheapest. We do need an IP address. And then I like to go into the rescue system rather than the OS. That's because I want to customize it a little bit. But you could actually just pick an OS, and then as soon as it's booted, it's got your SSH keys in, and you can run Actuated's one-line installer, and you're good. So I don't want us to have any additional drives. I don't want anything extra to pay for. We're going to add this to the shopping cart. We see how the costs break down, but we're going to be paying per hour on this. So I'm going to have to pay, I guess, a few euros to show you this demo. What I then have is some public keys on there so that I can SSH in. Should be able to check out. I might just take this off the screen. I don't know if it's going to have any credit card numbers on it. And now I'm ordering it. So I've been told that I should get email confirmation fairly quickly. One thing to watch out for when you do order from Hetzner is sometimes your machines can take a few minutes, hours, days, weeks to arrive. It really all depends on what server you've asked for and what the availability of that is. Okay, it was a couple of minutes and now we've got our Hetzner server. There's a couple of ways I can access this. We've got a reverse DNS entry that can be quite handy, or we've got the basic IP address. So what we'll do is we'll log into it, and you'll see we're in the rescue system. Now, as I said earlier, we've got a Go program that will fully install the operating system, get it all up to date, and install the agent completely hands-off remotely. So a bit like infrastructure as code. We need to get into the install image utility. And most of these Hetzner machines have 2 primary disks. So the thing that we need to do is turn off software RAID. We really just don't need it. It's just going to get in the way. We just want high performance and nothing more. As for the name, we'll call this something like Actuated Hetzner Temp 1. Let's say, or just Hetzner Temp 1. We've got the 2 disks. We'll only use one or only really need one. All the other options on here are usually not anything we need to consider. If you get a machine that only has 1 disk, what I tend to do is split it up. So in that case, I would say, right, the root partition is half of the disk, the rest is unformatted, and then the installer will figure it out. There's nothing more to do here, just to save it and quit. Then you get to see this nice pretty text UI as it goes through, and it tells you exactly what it's doing. It is pretty quick, I'd say. Now, incidentally, if you ever bricked the machine or you installed something you didn't want to, or let's say 2404 went out of LTS and you wanted to go to whatever the next one was, 2804, then you simply just hit a button on the console, it resets it back to the system, you run this installation and you're back to where you want to be again. Okay, so we're in the machine now, and we can see, what has it got? 64 gigs of RAM. We have a good 500 gigs for our VM snapshots. It's absolutely perfect. So we'll go over to the installation page. We'll paste this in, and because I'm actually running this interactively, I do not need to set that home directory. Otherwise, everything else looks good to me. And we'll be watching this interactively now. First thing that happens, we update the packages on the host. Most modern Ubuntu distributions now come with automated package updates anyway, so it's not like there's anything to particularly maintain on these. I think the machine we picked had 6 CPUs, so cores, 12 vCPUs that is. The Ryzen based servers on there are extremely fast. And if you go and find the DigitalOcean video that I recorded, you'll see how much quicker this was in comparison. So now we're going to look, and by the way, it did find the correct drive and it set up the pool for VM storage for us perfectly. We're now online. It's pulled the image, pulling the image down. That takes a few seconds, and then it will unpack that image into a snapshot that can be cloned instantly. That is really quite powerful. So when you think about something like AWS EC2, GCE, your VM could take between 1 and 2 minutes to launch, especially if you're auto-scaling. Once this has been unpacked on a machine, the launch is instant, and we will see that shortly. So at this point, while that's unpacking, we will see the new machine up on here, and you can see it's starting. So as soon as it is online, it can take a job. Now, I was showing earlier a pretty rudimentary job that just checks some specs. We'll push it a bit harder. We'll go to a Linux kernel and we'll build a Linux kernel. So we can build on the fastest possible machine available from Hetzner, and we can also build on this new one using the label. So we'll get 2 builds on both at the same time. We can have a little race. As for the specs, we're going to have to reduce this down a bit. I think we said 64. Let's say, no. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We can do 4 gigs, and we could actually have more vCPUs as well. It's unpacked. It's fully running. It's online. Only took a couple of minutes to get through all of that. Commit this one. And we go back over there, and you'll see it takes like a second or so for GitHub to send the webhook. That goes to us. We score all your machines, and we dispatched the right ones. So it's actually booted up and running, and we can watch the logs of the VM. So it's literally already running that job. It's that fast. Over here, we'll see both of these in the matrix racing each other to the end. Pop them open in new tabs. So cloning Linux, that usually takes up to 20 seconds. We'll then make a config, and we'll make the VM Linux. That's an uncompressed kernel that's suitable for micro VMs. That's what this test is showing us. And remember, that Hetzner machine is something like €33 a month. The A102 is more like 100, and similar price in dollars as well. Already finished on the A102. And over on here, we're still going on the cheaper host. But compared to a virtual machine or nested virtualization, we're going to be way ahead. And we could crank this up. So the A102 has got up to 32 vCPUs, so we could run this again, and we would see just how much quicker it can do it when it's got a bit more oomph behind it. So let's go only to that host, 32 vCPUs, 32 gigs of RAM, kick it off again. And we'll see again the servers and how many VMs I've got allocated to them. Just got the one on there. We'll also get an ETA time, and that's calculated based upon the labels. So this is going to take another 28 seconds, it reckons, based upon historic data. So what was the clone? Yeah, we're in the clone again. That's just network bound. But we're making the kernel 32 threads instead of 8. Now that particular step took 11 seconds, and on the previous run it took 19 because we had fewer vCPUs allocated to it, and it took 33 seconds on the cheaper machine. So max out, you're looking at 33 seconds on the slightly slower one, or 11 seconds on the fully kitted out machine. Now I can go destroy that Hetzner host and it will disappear off my list after a few minutes, or I can keep it around and I've got a bit of extra capacity. But the thing about this specific machine I picked is it doesn't have any initial setup fee, so I can add and remove them as I need them. And if I want much more performance, and I know I have like a stable undercurrent of work going through my team, then that's where you may add like something like the A102 that just has that extra oomph. So I hope that you enjoyed the demo. We saw what it took to install on Hetzner using the rescue system. You could have also just gone straight into a preloaded OS and it would have felt a bit like just using a regular cloud. Bare metal is not scary. There's not a lot to maintain. It's about the same as a VM and it's all fully automated.